Theology in 3 minutes. Topic: Society and Religion. Part 2. The criticisms. Critics will often point out cases when religious institutions acted against the benefit of society, and then conclude that the failures of these institutions is indicative of their falsehood, often extending this criticism against the idea of theism altogether. But this makes a number of fallacious assumptions. First off, critiques against any human institution, deserved or otherwise, do not disprove the existence of the divinity that they purport to follow. There are legitimate criticisms against some religions. Occasionally, the doctrines they hold are indeed flawed. But occasionally the flaw isn't the doctrine, but how it's carried out, which doesn't disprove the religion itself. Institutions sometimes fail to live up to their own ideals, but it's important to be specific about who is failing, and why. Quite possibly the biggest mistake critics make is treating all religion as a monolith. Imagine if someone criticized politics the same way. Like religion, politics includes numerous different systems. Obviously, whether any system can be considered a net benefit depends on which system is being discussed, as well as the opinions of those discussing it. It's erroneous to say that if one political system fails, that all other systems will fail for the same reasons. Every political system has its own set of pros and cons that need to be considered individually, rather than lumping them all together. Unfortunately, this is often how people criticize religion, finding fault in one and assuming it applies to all, forgetting, whether deliberately or ignorantly, that just because one religion may have flaws, that it doesn't automatically prove that all religiosity itself is inherently flawed. So before asking whether religion is good or bad for society, first you must ask, which religion? Even after settling on a specific religion, there's another mistake people often make: confusing an institutional failure with a doctrinal failure. When an issue arises, people often blame the religion itself rather than those within it. But institutions are composed of human beings, and human beings are capable of making mistakes and bad decisions. To put this into perspective, suppose that someone performs a piece by Bach, and suppose that they play it poorly. Is Bach to blame for poor composition, or is the musician to blame for poor performance? So when failure does occur, the first question should be whether it failed because it followed its own teachings, or because it didn't. Did the failure emerge from the doctrine, or did the failure emerge from a failure to follow the doctrine? And finally, many historical examples often used as evidence for the failures of religion are more often than not grossly mischaracterized. These examples are misrepresented so badly so often that people tend to just believe the criticisms out of hand. Instead, every supposed failure should be scrutinized. Is the issue really that simple, or is there a lot more to a story? History is nuanced, and right and wrong are rarely as black and white as people would like to admit. All that being said, it's important to admit that occasionally, legitimate failings do occur, and their criticism is genuinely deserved. Many atrocities have been committed in the name of religion. This was never in dispute. What is disputed, however, is whether or not those failures are marks against religion itself, marks against only one particular religion, or perhaps it's merely yet another example of mankind's total depravity.